Welcome everybody to the new review. oh god, I didn't fuck that up.
Welcome everybody to our series review, non-spoiler, on Around the Geek. It's your boy Lucas here with Terrell. Again, I'm not normally on this channel. You know, I don't get invites to Around the Geek amazingly by the person who runs Around the Geek, who I thought we were cool, and I don't even get an invite to Around the Geek. I've never.
Most of Around the Geek is anime and comics and stuff like that. And I'm always shocked when I get to see you doing anime reviews, and I'm like,
yeah, that'll never happen again. So yeah, you're right. I understand now. That'll never happen again. So yeah, I understand now. But here we are here to talk about the season, Last of Us, the highly anticipated series brought to you from HBO, HBO Max, and Sony Studios. Now again, because this is non-spoiler, we're not going to go into any details about any of the episode. We're really just going to focus on, is the show true to the video game? Is there a point of the show? And is this something that you need to watch? So Terrell, what are your first impressions of Last of Us?
I like it. I think they did a pretty faithful job so far. I'm not one of those people that everything needs to be 100% faithful to the adaptation. I mean, like, Joel's clearly not a white man here, so I mean, we could go ahead and rule that out. Pedro, does an amazing job. I'm glad that. My only kind of concern is kind of being too faithful and not taking a leap to expand what's already there. Because like you said, I mean, this 40-hour game that you're trying to crush down into 10 hours. So I mean, like you can't expect to have everything all in one bundle. But like I said, overall, they did a good job. It's HBO. My expectations were not low because I already know what they're capable of. So I knew when they picked up this property, they were going to do something good with it. But yeah, I like it.
Well, cool. I'm going to be completely opposite here. My expectations were extremely low for this show because I am not a fan of this subgenre of the survival type of media that we get, whether it be televisions or movies. So going into it, my expectations were low. I'm not going to say it did a great job of like over exceeding my expectations, but the performances are great here. Pedro is great, and I think it's I want to say her name right, Bella Ramsey.
Yeah,
she's not as annoying as children normally are in these type of settings.
Trained actor,
so it gets off a little bit better. But as Terrell said, I mean, possibly the biggest flaw that I could see in it is that it is, from what I read up, extremely faithful to the game, and because it's extremely faithful to the game, and it doesn't leave room for interpretation on things, it leads to a struggle watch at times. Because again, in a game, it's a lot of action, it's a lot of ducking, it's a lot of hiding, it's a lot of cutscenes, things you can skip. You can't do that in a series. You're gonna have to go through it, and at times for this series, it throws the pacing off a little bit. It makes it slower than what I think it should ever be to be entertaining. And when it gets to its slow moments, I think it takes away from the bigger moments of the show because the slower moments are so often here. Right. What did you think about just the pacing of the show?
To be honest, I was looking forward to the slow moments. I was looking forward to the expansion of the stories that we didn't get, or we didn't get to see a lot of. A lot of the Last of Us is building those characters and getting to giving you a reason to care what happens if they live or die. You know what I mean? So it's definitely, a good time, especially in a TV series format where we could take a few minutes and build upon each character as we come across. I'm not saying that every time you meet somebody, we got to get a flashback, and tell you their origin and stuff like that. But just, the story is about Ellie and Joel and the people that Ellie and Joel meet among their journey and stuff like that. And, what these people mean to them along the way. So I was hoping to get more, or I am hoping to get more out of those characters as the story goes on.
Well, I mean that's the goal. But someone like me coming into it blind, where I didn't play the game, any research I did of the show, I did it based off of things already released from the game, from the storylines and things of nature. So because I didn't play it, I don't have that personal experience to it. On the outside looking in, without that personal experience, it just came across as I want to call it a Walking Dead type of show,
Right.
but
No, it is what it is.
not like Walking Dead or Fear the Walking Dead. What's that other Walking Dead? It was another Walking Dead that lasted like one season, and this show feels like that at times. Granted, it feels elevated because the performances are solid here, but just from a storytelling standpoint, it feels like, I don't know, if the game isn't packed with a lot of story, which is okay if it's not, but when you translate it to a different medium, you need to pack it with a tad bit more story. So at times it feels like a lot of filler is happening around Joel and Ellie in the story, and with that filler becomes, for me, again, pacing problems.
And like you said, without you playing the game, do you notice the filler? Like, do you feel like it's pretty
100%.
obvious? Okay.
Oh God, it is super. Like, because I didn't play the game, and I'm looking at it just objectively as a piece of art on television, I can notice filler right away. I can notice when it feels like you're dragging out something, where unnecessary conversations are happening. And that's what I felt a lot, especially in the first 4 to 5 episodes here. You feel those a lot here. Now, it does attempt to pick up, but it never gets to the point of what I was expecting from the hype of it. It really reminds me of, it's a old, not an old film, a film with Viggo Mortensen. It's slipping my mind right now.
V for Vendetta?
No.
Not Lord. It's not sci-fi. You said Vigo.
It is also based off of this type of format, this survival genre of media. So, and it's I think Conrad McCormick is the author of the book with him, and that they adapted into a very good movie, but a very slow movie. And that's what this show reminded me of as I'm watching it. I'm like, oh, this is just going to be extremely slow at times. So I'm just wondering if it's going to be a turnoff for people who don't know the game to go through something this slow. What do you think will be, not necessarily people who are into the game, but the people who aren't into the game, who know nothing about the game? What will be their perception of The Last of Us?
Yeah, like you said, I mean, at this point, it's like, who is this show for? Is it for the gamer? Or is it for the people that have never even heard of the IP? You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
I feel like coming into this not having any background knowledge, I think you're going to enjoy it more. If you came into this blind and you didn't know what was what, you didn't have the expectations of the game kind of weighing it down, I think you're going to enjoy this a lot. Like I said, it didn't really fail me at all, like in terms of like them being faithful to it and everything like that. I think they did a really, really good job as much as they could, but I think, like I said, I feel like it's a wasted opportunity not to expand upon the lore and build this world out, and give other characters an opportunity outside of Ellie and Joel, so they can do more with this in a television format. But then, of course, you wind up walking down that dangerous path of The Walking Dead, where every character gets a spin-off. Like, and it's like, okay, it's still the same world and we're doing the same thing, but just with a different character. But overall, I mean, like I said, I mean, PlayStation, Sony, Warner Brothers, this has been 10 years now. Going 10 years, 2023 since 2013, since this, not exactly, 10 years. 10 years since the game came out, and this is all they've been talking about, is doing a TV show for this possibly getting a movie. And I don't know if this necessarily is going to rub people the right way or rub people the wrong way. I don't think anybody's completely going to get what they want out of this show. And I feel like that's with any adaptation, when it comes to video games or video games, a movie, or video games, or TV, you never exactly get what you want. So either way, somebody's going to be mad about it. But overall, I thought it was good. I liked it. I have no issues with it. I mean, like you said, you were saying earlier, like the theories of it kind of being broken down into like, okay, the first season just covering that first game, and then the second, if they were able to do that, and like I said, just kind of slow, if they would have slowed the pacing up a little bit, to where they're going, because the first overall episode is just like I said, like the first 4 or 5 hours of the game. But like I said, depending on the pacing of how this goes, I mean, they could definitely stretch this out and get multiple seasons going if they decide to do that.
So you don't think that the gamers will? Because to me, the perception I get is that, or from seeing what I saw and reading up on it, it seems like this is extremely faithful to the game. Like, this would be for gamers. I just assume a general audience won't attach to this show because it's not enough meat there to get them intrigued about these characters. In the end, the relationship between Joel and Ellie and the audience, I think it feels like at times the show is dependent on you playing the game and you having that built-in relationship. Because without that built-in relationship, I don't see how you can get overly connected with both of these two characters in this show without having that already established connection because you played the video game. So
Right.
I just assumed that this was more for the gamers than the general audience. And if that's the case, I'm wondering how can the show survive with such a niche audience and just focusing on people who love the game and being faithful to it and not necessarily reaching for outside audience. Also, the movie I was talking about is called The Road with Viggo Mortensen, and it's literally the same in pacing. And The Road is a very slow moving movie, and this one is a very slow moving show. But again, that had a little bit more meat to it. This one doesn't. But again, if you're telling me like this is not even going to live up to gamers, I'm really wondering who's this living up to.
Yeah, like I said, I think that, like you said, this is not to say that the people that played the game are not excited for it or anything like that, not to discredit it, but I think that like there's a kind of in between medium here of hey, we're doing this for the game, the people who played the game, and we're doing this for new fans. We're adapting this for new fans so they don't have to rely on having the game to fill in some of the backstory or some of the holes that they do. You know, some of the stuff they change with, you know, the just overall. I don't think anybody's going, you know, the general audience is going to have an issue with, because they don't know what the heck is going on when they watch this. So it's all brand new to them. Yeah.
So, Terrell, final thoughts and give me a score on Last of Us, brought to you by HBO Max, and Sony Studios.
Right. Final thoughts is like, you know, I'm glad that this happened. I'm glad that we finally, after so long, you know, so many years of this talked about, so many fan casting, so many potentials of if this is ever going to happen. We're talking, like I said, the moment this game was finished in 2013, people were talking about doing a movie or a TV show and talking about so many ideas of what they could do. But like I said, I'm glad it happened. I'm glad it was on HBO, because you know HBO is going to put the money in. They're going to give you a good script. They're going to give you some good actors. Overall, I think they did a good job. I mean, good job. I think, like I said, Pedro does a really good job, and Bella does a really good job of playing both of our lead characters here. And you know, at first I had my oppositions about it, and just not seeing it. You know, sometimes you got to see it in motion. Sometimes you got to see it for a few minutes. They're like, okay, I can see it. They're really embodying those characters. But they do a really good job. I mean, you could definitely tell like the kind of pushback that you feel between them two. Like first meeting each other, they can't trust each other. You know, what's going on, and even like showing the violent side of Joel through the episode and everything like that. I think they do a really good job of it. Like I said, I don't think we need a 1-for-1 adaptation of the entire game, because like I said, that'd just be predictable the entire way. There's no point in me watching that. I can just go back and play the game or watch clips on YouTube. So overall, for a score, I say a 3.5 out of 5, because it's still some things I think they need to tidy up, but overall it's still pretty good, worth the watch.
Yeah, okay, that doesn't sound too bad. Now, me on the other hand, and I hate to compare it, but it's going to be a comparison that this show will always have. The comparison will be to The Walking Dead. It can't avoid the comparison at all at this point. At times, it feels like I'm watching a later season of The Walking Dead. And what I mean by that is a later season with all the flaws in the show being fully exposed and the show not being as enjoyable as it should be. That's what it feels like at times when I'm watching this show. Granted, the performances, again, are what help elevate a very simple plot at times, and a story that feels like it goes absolutely nowhere for a big chunk of time. And if it wasn't for those performances, this could be a horrible show. With those performances, they at least attempt to elevate it to something different. Now, with this being an HBO show, with the pedigree behind this show, with the writers behind this show, I would have expected something better. I just don't understand. At this point, I'm not fully understanding if this is a 1-for-1 adaptation, as Terrell said, of what the point of it is then. because that's not enjoyable television. I don't think you can adapt any video game and make it into an enjoyable watch if it's just a shot for shot remake. I don't think that's humanly possible, or even a plot for plot remake, because at that point, again, it's the same thing where most gamers will say, I can just go back and play the game. I don't have to sit and watch this, and I can enjoy the medium of it that I truly loved in the first place. Here with The Last of Us, it does feel like at times it's a little lost, it's a little confused. It feels like at times that the writers don't necessarily know exactly the story they want to fully tell, but you could tell they want to be transparent to their audience that, like, hey, we know the game, we love the game, we're going to adapt it this way. And at that point, it struggles from that. And this could be one of the weakest HBO shows I've seen come up in this first season. So that's not the best thing. As my score, I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5. The performances are good, but other than the performances, I think the show struggles to grab its audience. Now, again, if you're into the video game, you're gonna love it. If you are into this survival genre, you may find it enjoyable, but it's far from the highs that this show should have had with the crew behind it. That's my final thoughts, Terrell. Yeah. Hey man, this on you around the geek, because I'm never on here before. I don't get the pleasure of being on here.
I just think if this show had came out at a different time that wasn't so close to The Walking Dead at this moment in its final seasons and stuff like that.
Yes.
It was kind of pushed out a little far removed from that. I think it would definitely kind of push it, because I think people are kind of like apocalyptic, end of the world out, zombied out, with certain things. But obviously we won't know until we actually get the reactions and we get, once everybody, checks it out and see, what if they like it or not. But I mean, overall, like I said, I thought it was cool. They did what they could. And I guess determining how this goes determines if we're gonna get that next season and I gonna get that budget. So
we'll see. I'm about to say, if not, or maybe this goes the route of Tomb Raider, and we get a reboot after reboot after reboot. That's what it feels like.
The problem was, I think they were on the right path with Tomb Raider, and that just came down to some negotiation stuff. But hopefully it doesn't come down to this. But we'll see.
Hey, we'll see with you all. Again, you can check out the review for Last of Us on Around the Geek, as Terrell is reviewing the first episode with
Lucas.
You are not reviewing this with me on Around the Geek. This is your channel. Who are you doing your first review with?
Around the Geek. We're doing the first review with Nadia, who I will be posting that. Probably gonna see it right after this. Me and Nadia did the review of the first episode, our overall impressions and what we thought, and that was both from our perspectives as both people that have played the game. She has a big love for it, I have a big love for it, but did it live up to the hype? So that's what you're gonna be seeing. But
see, there you go. So tune in for Around the Geek for content for Last of Us. Also tune in for Big Old Belt, as there you will see me and Terrell review week to week drops of the show. This has been another, not from Around the Geek, because I'm never on Around the Geek. So how do you close out the show?
Another review, another great episode of Around the Geek ATG. Check us out. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what you thought about The Last of Us. Did you have the same feelings as we have about it after watching it? And if so, check out my review and all of our week to weeks as well. But on that note, this has been Terrell from Around the Geek and Lucas, and we're out. See you. Welcome everybody to the new